Welcome to this deep dive, and get this, it's crafted just for you. We know you love ancient Egypt, especially those mummy mysteries.
Oh, yeah?
So today, we're going deep
Deep.
into scanning the pharaohs, CT imaging of the new Kingdom Royal Mummies.
Wow.
Excited to explore this book with you.
Oh, it's a fascinating read, truly. Imagine this, you're going beyond those dusty history books and actually seeing, like, beneath the wrappings
Right.
of ancient Egypt's, like, most famous rulers.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. Not with old tools,
Right?
but with CT scans.
Oh, wow.
It's like having, X-ray vision
Yeah.
on steroids, but way clearer,
Oh, much clearer. So we're basically time travelers
Totally.
with this technology.
Time travel.
The book talks about this Egyptian mummy project. What was that all about?
Okay, so this project, led by Dr. Zahi Hawass, total game changer.
Wow.
They used CT scanning, right, to unlock all these secrets of the royal mummies.
Yeah.
Like a real team effort,
Yeah.
Egyptologists, radiologists, even forensic scientists, all working together.
A real dream team.
Dream team.
Did they make any, big discoveries?
Oh, tons. One of the most interesting stories is about Ramses I. So get this. His mummy was found in a museum in Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls? No way.
Yeah.
You're kidding. How did an Egyptian pharaoh end up in Niagara Falls?
Wild story. It turns out the mummy had been there since 1871.
What?
Dr. Hawass was, instrumental in getting it back to Egypt. Huge celebration when that mummy was returned to Luxor.
That's incredible. Shows you the power of these ancient remains. But getting back to the science, what did the CT scans reveal about Ramses I?
They gave us a clear picture of him,
Yeah.
right? What he looked like, his age at death, even insights into, how he died.
Right.
And the scans confirmed he was the father of Seti I and the grandfather of, the legendary Ramses II.
So it's like solving an ancient puzzle, piecing together the family tree using 21st century tech. The book also talks about Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh. How they go about confirming her identity.
Her identification, it was a long-standing mystery. But get this, a single tooth found in a wooden box was the key.
A tooth? That's some detective work.
I know, right? The CT scans showed Hatshepsut had an abscess in her jaw.
Ah.
And this tooth fit perfectly in the gap, even showed signs of the abscess,
Wow.
like finding that missing puzzle piece.
So a tiny tooth helps solve a historical mystery. Incredible.
Yeah.
Now, we can't talk about ancient Egypt without Tutankhamun, the boy king. Everyone's fascinated by him. Did the scans reveal anything new about his life?
Well, the scans provided a more humanizing view of Tutankhamun. They revealed he had a club foot, a cleft palate, and other health issues.
Oh, wow.
Which, kind of challenges that image of him as this picture of, youthful vigor.
So he wasn't as healthy as history has portrayed him. Is there more to that story?
There's a lot of debate about whether Tutankhamun was murdered. Some think he had injury points to, foul play. Others say the skull damage could have happened, after death.
Right.
Maybe during mummification or even when Howard Carter first examined the mummy.
So it's still an open case, huh? Speaking of mysteries, what about the search for Nefertiti, Akhenaten's queen?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the ultimate treasure hunt for Egyptologists.
It really is. The book delves into this mystery, focusing on two mummies found in tomb KV-21. Some researchers think one of them could be Nefertiti.
Oh, intriguing. Is there any evidence for that?
Well, the KV-21 mummies are both female and from the right time period, but there's no inscriptions or artifacts to conclusively prove their identities.
So the mystery continues. Now, I'm curious about this other story, the harem conspiracy against Ramses III. What happened there?
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
One of Ramses III's wives, Tai, she wants her son on the throne. Right, so she orchestrates this plot worthy of, a Hollywood movie.
Palace intrigue, betrayal, sounds juicy.
It is. We know all about it because of the Turin Papyrus.
Oh, wow.
It describes, the whole conspiracy, the trial, the punishments.
Wow.
It's a fascinating look into the royal court and their, quest for power.
Hold on. There's an actual papyrus documenting this.
Yes. And get this. Ramses III's mummy reveals a deep wound on his throat, most likely from an assassination attempt.
Oh, wow. So this was a serious plot, not just threats.
It was serious, but there's some debate about whether he actually died from that wound or if he, somehow survived the attack.
Another unsolved mystery. With all this talk about mummies, I'm wondering, what do the CT scans reveal about the mummification process itself?
It's a great question. These scans offer a front row seat to the intricate methods. you
Yeah.
know? like how they use natron for desiccation.
Okay, before I go any further, can we pause? What exactly is natron?
It's a naturally occurring salt mixture found in Egypt. They used it to dry out the body, essentially dehydrating it to stop decomposition. Think of it like, salt curing meat.
Ah, that makes sense. So natron was key to their recipe for eternal preservation.
You could say that. The scans also show the use of resin, which acted like a sealant. Applied as a liquid, then it's solidified,
Oh, wow.
protecting the body from decay.
So it's basically like ancient embalming fluid.
Totally.
That's incredible. It's amazing the detail these scans reveal. What else did they find?
Oh, they even found different materials used as fillers inside the body cavities. Linen, sawdust, sometimes even mud.
Mud. Really?
Yep, they weren't picky, used whatever worked.
Wow.
The point is, these CT scans allow us to, study their techniques in detail, revealing the science and the artistry behind ancient Egyptian mummification.
Fascinating. Shows you how important their beliefs about the afterlife were.
Oh, yeah.
They went to great lengths to preserve the body for that journey to the next world.
Precisely. And it wasn't just about preservation. They also took great care to make the mummies look their best.
Oh.
They even used, cosmetic techniques to enhance their appearance.
Cosmetic enhancements? Like what?
Well, they used something called subcutaneous packing. Basically, they inserted materials beneath the skin to, fill out the facial features, to create a more lifelike appearance.
Yeah.
It was like giving the mummies a makeover for eternity.
So they wanted to make sure they looked their best in the afterlife. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What about those amulets and treasures we often find with mummies? Can the CT scans see those too?
Absolutely. That's one of the coolest things about this technology. We can see all those objects without having to unwrap the mummies.
So it's like a virtual treasure hunt.
Exactly. They found heart amulets, scarabs, protective eyes, even tiny figurines, all carefully placed within the wrappings.
But what was the purpose of all these objects?
They had, practical and symbolic purposes. Some were meant to, protect the deceased on their journey to the afterlife.
Right.
Others were to provide them with, food and guidance.
It's like they were packing for a really long trip.
A very long trip. The scans allow us to see these objects and, understand their significance.
This is incredible. We're literally rewriting history, one mummy at a time, thanks to these scans.
I love how you put that. This project has truly changed how we look at ancient Egypt. And this book is just a captivating glimpse into that research.
I'm hooked. Can you tell me more about those amulets and their significance?
Oh, absolutely. There are some specific examples that really stand out. For instance, inside Seti's mummy, right? They found this heart amulet wrapped in linen, probably even containing heart residue.
Whoa.
It really shows, the ancient Egyptians believed the heart, not the brain, was the center of intelligence and the soul. They believed the heart had to be weighed against the feather of truth.
Oh, yeah. I remember learning about that weighing of the heart ceremony. So this amulet, it was like insurance for Seti's arrest, making sure his heart was accounted for.
Exactly. It's this fascinating blend of spiritual belief and, practical measures. And speaking of practical, the scans of Ramses III show something unexpected. Metallic beads near his toes.
Beads in his toes. What?
Yeah. It's a bit of a mystery. Some think it might have been some ancient medical treatment,
Oh.
maybe for circulation or pain relief. Others believe it had symbolic meaning, maybe something to do with grounding or protection.
Wow. So many possibilities. It's like a tiny time capsule of beliefs hidden within the mummy. Makes you wonder what other secrets are still waiting to be discovered. Earlier we were talking about the mummification process. What else did the CT scans reveal about the specifics of that process?
Well, one thing that stood out was the removal of the brain. Remember, the ancient Egyptians, they believed the heart was the seat of intelligence, not the brain.
Right.
So they came up with this technique to remove the brain through the nose.
The nose. Sounds a little intense.
Yeah, probably wasn't the most pleasant experience.
Yeah.
But, they saw it as essential for mummification. The CT scans actually show those pathways they created inside the skull
Wow.
and nasal cavity to extract the brain matter.
That's incredible to think that they had that level of anatomical knowledge and were able to develop such a technique.
It is. You can even see, how their techniques evolved. Early attempts at brain removal were much more crude. But by the New Kingdom, they had, refined the process. Really shows their commitment to this art of mummification.
It's like they were constantly innovating. And we were talking earlier about how they use those cosmetic enhancements to make the mummies look their best. Besides that subcutaneous packing, did they have any other, tricks?
Oh, the scans revealed another fascinating technique. They used resin, right, to fill out the facial features, applying it while it was still warm and moldable
Oh,
to create a more lifelike appearance. You can really see it in Seti's mummy. His face is remarkably well preserved.
it's almost like they were sculpting a portrait in resin, capturing the essence of the deceased.
It emphasizes, how important it was for the deceased to be recognizable in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Their physical form was, integral to their spiritual journey.
It's so different from how we think about death and the afterlife today, but it's also so respectful. This
Yeah.
desire to preserve the individual, physically and spiritually. One thing that I found interesting in the book was how the CT scans revealed the, symbolic meaning behind the mummies' poses, especially their arm positions.
Right, their positioning wasn't random. The most common pose, often called the royal position, involved crossing the forearms over the chest.
Oh, right.
Right arm over left, usually reserved for, pharaohs, high-ranking officials.
And like a gesture of power, even in death.
Exactly, a reminder of their status, their importance. But not all mummies were positioned this way. Women, they often had their arms extended along their sides or crossed over their abdomen.
Oh, so there was a gender distinction in their preparation.
It seems so. These distinctions are valuable insights into the, social hierarchies and gender roles of ancient Egypt. A reminder that these scans are helping us understand not just individuals, right? But the whole culture.
Like we're piecing together this giant tapestry. Their beliefs, rituals, everything. It creates this incredible picture.
I love that analogy.
Right.
And the more we learn, the more intricate that tapestry gets. Earlier you mentioned the amulets and their significance. Well, these CT scans, they allow researchers to not just see these amulets,
Right.
but to actually understand, their placement, their arrangement.
Oh, interesting. So were there particular patterns for different amulets?
Yes, very specific patterns. For instance, the heart scarab.
Oh, yeah.
That amulet shaped like a dung beetle.
Mm-hmm.
It was typically placed over the heart.
So like a symbolic replacement for the heart during that weighing ceremony.
You got it. Meant to ensure the heart would be judged, favorably.
Right.
Then you have the wedged eye amulet. That represents the eye of Horus, often placed near wounds or areas needing, protection.
It's like a spiritual bandage.
Exactly. It had healing and protective powers. And then you had the amulets representing the four sons of Horus, each associated with a specific organ. Imseti with the liver, Hapi with the lungs, Dualmutef with the stomach, and Kebesnuf with the intestines.
Wow, that's a lot to keep track of. And where were these amulets usually placed?
Around the canopic jars, those special containers that held the, mummified organs.
Wait, so they removed the organs, but then they made these elaborate amulets to represent them?
They did. It really highlights their complex beliefs about the body and the afterlife. They believed the body needed to be complete for rebirth, but they also understood they needed to, preserve the organs separately.
It's such a fascinating mix of practicality and symbolism.
Absolutely. It's just one example of how much these CT scans are revealing. But we have to remember the bigger picture, too. We talked about Ramses III and the harem conspiracy, but there were other royal families and dramatic events, all shaping the new kingdom.
Right. It would be great to get a sense of that, bigger picture, the rise and fall of those dynasties, the power struggles, all those things that shaped the lives of these pharaohs.
Well, the book really goes into detail about the period from Amenhotep II to the Amarna period. It was a time of great power and upheaval. It's a story of ambitious rulers, religious revolutions, and ultimately the legacy of Tutankhamun.
Sounds fascinating. Tell me more. Where do we even begin?
Let's start with Amenhotep II, a powerful warrior pharaoh. He inherited a huge empire from his father, Thutmose III, and kept expanding it. Really solidified Egypt's dominance. And he was a builder, responsible for impressive monuments, like that temple near the Sphinx at Giza.
So a pharaoh who embraced both military might and, architectural grandeur.
Exactly. But his reign also marks a change in the balance of power, within the royal family. Unlike his predecessors, his wives didn't have the title of Great Royal Wife. Suggests a change in the role of women at court.
Interesting. Like a subtle but significant shift.
Exactly. And this shift is even more apparent during the reign of his son, Thutmose IV. He's known for the dream stela he set up, between the paws of the Sphinx.
Right.
But his reign hints at, potential rivalry within the family. Some of his brother's names on the stela were intentionally damaged, which could indicate, a power struggle.
Palace intrigue. Sound like power struggles were just as common then as they are now.
Oh, yeah. And those struggles reached a whole new level during the reign of Amenhotep III. He's considered one of Egypt's most successful pharaohs, brought peace and prosperity, expanded trade, created those strong diplomatic alliances.
So he was more of a diplomat than a warrior?
Yes, although he wasn't afraid to, use military force. His reign was about diplomacy and cultural achievements. He was a big supporter of the arts.
A true golden age.
Exactly. And at the heart of it all was his queen, Tai.
She was considered extremely influential, right?
Yeah, incredibly influential. Unlike many other queens, Tai was shown alongside Amenhotep III in statues and reliefs, often on equal footing. She was actively involved in, state affairs. Her advice was highly valued.
Wow. So she wasn't just a figurehead.
Yeah.
A true power player.
Absolutely. Her influence even extended beyond Amenhotep III's reign. Her son, Amenhotep I, would initiate one of the most radical religious revolutions in history.
A religious revolution. Now, that's something I want to hear more about. A religious revolution. That sounds intense. Tell me everything. What happened?
Well, Amenhotep I, he later changed his name to Akhenaten. And he decided to, shake things up.
Okay.
He abandoned, the traditional beliefs,
Right.
the polytheistic beliefs of ancient Egypt.
Wow.
And introduced this new religion, a monotheistic one, centered around, the sun disk, the Aten.
Monotheism in ancient Egypt. That's like a radical idea, almost unheard of for them.
It was a huge change and, caused a stir.
Yeah.
Akhenaten went so far as to, move the capital
Oh, wow.
from Thebes to a brand new city called Akhetaten, known today as Amarna.
Right.
And he insisted, everyone worshiped the Aten exclusively.
So he was like a one-man religious revolution. What do you think motivated such a drastic change?
There are a lot of theories.
Right.
Some scholars believe it was, a genuine spiritual awakening. Others think maybe there were political motivations involved.
Right.
Like maybe an attempt to consolidate his power or break free from the influence of, that powerful priesthood of Amun.
That makes sense. It's a fascinating puzzle. But how does this tie back to the book's focus, on the CT scans, the mummies?
Well, the scans of Akhenaten's mummy offer some interesting clues, about his physical appearance. He had this elongated skull, a prominent jaw, and other unusual features, which has led to some speculation about potential medical conditions.
So some researchers think his physical characteristics might have influenced his religious beliefs.
It's a controversial theory. But, it's interesting. It reminds us that even the biggest historical events can have these complex, personal, even biological underpinnings.
It really makes you think. We were talking earlier about Akhenaten's wife, Nefertiti. What was her role in all this?
Oh, she was very much involved in the religious reforms. However, her fate remains a mystery, as we discussed earlier. The search for her mummy is still ongoing.
It just goes to show, even with all our technology, so much of the past is still a mystery. Getting back to Akhenaten, what happened after his death? Did his new religion survive?
It didn't. His successor, Tutankhamun, he reversed those religious reforms, restored the traditional polytheistic beliefs, moved the capital back to Thebes, and he made a real effort to, erase Akhenaten's legacy. He even dismantled a lot of his temples and monuments.
So Akhenaten's religious revolution was short-lived, but his reign definitely left its mark on Egyptian history.
It definitely did. This attempt to change Egyptian religion, even though it failed, it shows the power of individual beliefs and the complex nature of, religious change.
It's a story that, still resonates today. Well, one of the things that I found most interesting about this book was the idea that this technology, these CT scans, can actually rewrite our understanding of the past.
That's such an important point. This project has shown us that we're not just limited to, written records.
Right.
We have these scientific tools that let us examine the physical remains of these individuals. It gives us a much deeper understanding.
It's like we're giving a voice to those who have been silent for thousands of years.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning, really. As technology keeps advancing, who knows what other mysteries we'll be able to solve? What other stories will they reveal?
It's so exciting. This deep dive has been incredible. It's like I've taken a crash course in, ancient Egyptian history and forensic science, all in one.
It's been a pleasure exploring these incredible discoveries with you. If this deep dive has, sparked your interest, I highly recommend Scanning the Pharaohs. Amazing resource.
I'll definitely check it out. And to everyone listening, who knows what other deep dives await us? Until then, keep exploring and keep asking questions.